The next 20 minutes could potentially be the most profitable minutes of your life in terms of dollars and hours saved. While talking about these attacks and vulnerabilities, I am in no way trying to promote fear or paranoia. I just want to get real about what you need to do to protect your money. At the end of this video, you will know every single way someone could attack your MetaMask or any other crypto wallet to try and steal your money. You'll understand how the attack works and what you need to do to protect yourself against it. Also, if I'm wrong on any of this, challenge me on it. If you have the knowledge and understanding the rest of us don't, please share it with us. I'll aggregate the new knowledge into a thread under the pinned comment, or if need be, I'll scrap this video altogether and make a new one. Let's get to it. There are 3 categories of attacks that someone could use to steal your crypto. The 3 categories are: first, private key vulnerabilities; second, machine vulnerabilities; and third, smart contract vulnerabilities. Now, some of you might be thinking, I use a hardware wallet connected to MetaMask, so I'm protected from all of this, right? Of the following 9 attacks, using a hardware wallet only protects you from 2 of them: attack number 3 and number 6. Hardware wallets are great, but I worry they give people a false sense of security. So if you use a hardware wallet, you'll still want to continue watching so you can understand what attacks a hardware wallet does and does not protect you from. Now let's talk about each specific attack and defense. First up is private key vulnerabilities. Someone with your private key can steal all your money from anywhere in the world. This results in a complete loss of funds. To understand this category, it's important to understand that your crypto wallet is not actually a wallet. Most people think that their crypto or tokens are inside their wallet. This is false. Crypto wallets don't actually hold anything. What your crypto wallet is proof of ownership. It's keys. And whoever holds the keys gets to use the money. Your wallet is a pair of 2 keys. A public key, which is related to your public wallet address, and a private key, the thing you use to sign transactions. Your private key proves you own that money. However, if someone else gets your private key, then they also own that money because now they can sign transactions for it as well. So if someone steals your private key, they become a joint owner of your money and can steal all your tokens by sending them to a different address. Because private keys are just long strings of random letters and numbers, wallet providers like MetaMask don't want you to make a mistake while writing it down. Human error would be huge, and people would lose all their money just by recording their key wrong. So instead, you are given a secret recovery phrase, which is basically a human-readable version of your private key. The point I'm making is that it doesn't matter whether they steal your secret recovery phrase or your private key. With either one, they can access the ownership of your wallet. So, what are the ways someone can steal your secret recovery phrase or private key? The first attack is the simplest yet most effective. You give up your secret recovery phrase willingly. Who in their right mind would do this? A lot of people. And it normally starts by going to a phishing website. Typically, you'll end up at this website after clicking a helpful link a scammer sends in an online forum. Or perhaps you get a private message about how you want a free giveaway or airdrop. Or perhaps, like me, you're researching a new DeFi project and you click the link on Google rather than going straight to the source. When you click on this link, it will take you to a website that looks exactly like the website you thought you were going to, but the URL will be wrong. This is called a phishing site. When you try to interact with the site, eventually it will show you something like this, asking you to enter your secret recovery phrase to restore your MetaMask, claim your prize money, or log into your MetaMask. Please don't do this. So what's your defense? Never reveal your secret phrase. Ever. Make your secret phrase so hard to get to that by the time you have it in your hand, you'll remember that you're about to get scammed out of all your money. Another strategy scammers use for this attack is to get you to reveal it during a screen sharing session. This gets a lot of people because they don't know their unlocked MetaMask contains their secret recovery phrase if you press Profile, Security, Privacy, then Reveal Secret Recovery Phrase. Or similarly, if you click Account Details and Export Private Key. So your defense is the same. Don't do this. Never reveal your secret phrase or private key. If you've made an awful mistake and you think you may have revealed your private key or secret recovery phrase, then it's very likely that all your funds are gone. But if by some miracle your wallet hasn't been completely drained yet, you have one last line of defense. You can immediately set up a new wallet with a new private key and address and manually transfer all your funds over to your new wallet. There's only one situation with which you should ever mess with your private key. This is if you are setting up MetaMask on a new device or you lost your password to log into your MetaMask and you need to set up your account again. And if you find yourself in this situation, you better be typing in www.metamask.io directly into the browser so you don't end up on a fake phishing website and end up giving the keys to your wallet directly to a scammer. MetaMask will never ask you for your secret recovery phrase or private keys. So if a person or website ever asks you for your secret recovery phrase, this should immediately set off a million red flags in your head. The next attack is to steal your secret recovery phrase from an unsecure digital location. I love computers, but files on your computer are inherently unsecure. Malware and computer viruses are far too common these days, and scammers are getting better about how to trick you into downloading them. So what is your defense? Don't store your recovery phrase digitally. Don't put it on your computer, and please don't take a picture of it on your phone. Think about this. MetaMask goes through a ton of effort to store your private key in an encrypted format to protect you if your computer ever does get hacked. Additionally, if you use a hardware wallet, then that company went through an even greater effort to store your private key in an encrypted, safe way. Why would you undo all that effort and store an unencrypted, easy-to-steal version of your secret recovery phrase on your computer? Your defense is to keep 2 or more copies of your recovery phrase in secure locations. I'd recommend writing them down on a piece of paper, laminating that paper to keep it waterproof, then storing 1 copy outside your home in a secure location like a bank vault. With self-custodial wallets, which is a fancy name for what MetaMask is, you are the owner. In a way, it's the purest form of money ownership, but it's also the riskiest in that you assume full responsibility. If you lose the money, then no one, including the police, can get it back for you. Attack number 3 is stealing your private keys by accessing your encrypted private key through malware. Malware is malicious software you accidentally download onto your computer. Some types of malware allow someone to download files stored locally on your computer. Since your MetaMask encrypted private key is stored locally on your computer or phone, if your device becomes infected with this malware, it could allow that file containing your encrypted private keys to be stolen. But here's the catch. Even with that file, they don't have your private keys yet. The file containing your private keys is encrypted with your MetaMask password. So they still need your password to decrypt and read the file. So how does a hacker get your password? If you use a lame password, then the hacker doesn't even need to steal your password. They can just use something called a brute force attack to randomly generate your password in minutes or seconds. They can do this by running a program that runs thousands to billions of password attempts a second against your encrypted file. Weak passwords don't stand a chance. The next way to get your password is to use a keylogger, another form of malware that logs and records everything you type into your keyboard. Then stealing your password is only a matter of sifting through keyboard history. So what are your defenses? To protect against losing your encrypted private key, you need to protect against malware. We'll talk more about that in the next section. To protect against a brute force attack, you need a darn good password. Short passwords and password with words are not going to survive brute force attacks. Current Google wisdom says that with a strong 12-character password, you'll be well protected from a brute force attack. And by strong, I mean that it doesn't contain any words, but instead contains random digits, symbols, and upper and lowercase characters. In case I've lost you already, the reason you want a strong password is so that it will be hard to unlock your encrypted private key if someone is able to download it. Even with a strong password, you are still vulnerable to keyloggers that can just record your password while you type it in. The best defense against attack number 3 is to not store your encrypted private keys on your computer or phone in the first place. But that is exactly what MetaMask does by default. So the best of both worlds would be able to still use MetaMask as your front end, but bypass its default key storage mechanism. To do this, you'll need a special tool called a hardware wallet, essentially a sophisticated USB stick that keeps your private key separate from your computer or phone. They are pretty nifty in the way they handle your private key, so that your key never leaves the device, even when signing transactions. Here's a brief rundown on how hardware wallets work. First, your private key is generated on the physical device itself, which means your private key has never been exposed to a vulnerable computer or network. That's good. Next, when you need to sign transactions on MetaMask, an API request is sent from MetaMask to your hardware wallet. Before proceeding, your hardware wallet will require you to physically press a button on your device to confirm that transaction. Once confirmed, your hardware wallet will create its own transaction, sign it using the private key, then return the signed transaction to the API request. In this way, MetaMask is no longer involved in the handling of any private keys. And the great news is that you can still use MetaMask with full functionality as your front-end user interface, just like you would normally, but not have to worry about the unsecure way MetaMask stores your private key. If you've ever heard the terms hot wallet and cold wallet before, this is exactly the principle they're talking about. Hot wallets have keys stored on devices connected to the internet and therefore vulnerable to malware, and cold wallets have private keys generated and stored on devices that are not connected to the internet. While hardware wallets are the safest option for protecting against attack number 3, here's where you shouldn't trust hardware wallets, and it's called a supply chain attack. Attack number 4. If someone can get their hands on your hardware wallet before you buy it, then you could receive a fake product or a real product with bad software. Or it could come with scam instructions that lead you to use an old account with a private key someone else already owns. Anyway, if you get a compromised device, your funds are as good as gone. Luckily, the defense here is pretty simple. Buy a hardware wallet directly from a company you trust, and never buy a used hardware wallet. Unfortunately, many people set up their hardware wallet wrong when linking it to MetaMask and end up still having a hot wallet that can be downloaded with malware. If you're interested in learning how to connect your hardware wallet to MetaMask correctly, or you've already linked one up and you just want instructions to verify that you have set it up correctly, you can follow the links in the description. That brings us to the end of private key vulnerabilities. The theme of this section is Gandalf.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Up next is machine vulnerabilities. We've already discussed a lot of the principles in this section when we talked about attack number 3. There is malware that can download files and the danger that poses if you use a hot wallet. There is also malware called keyloggers that can record your keyboard history to steal passwords. But there is another malware we should probably talk about, and that is clipboard hijacking. Even a hardware wallet can't protect you from this one. Clipboard hijacking is a malware that changes the contents of your copy and paste clipboard. It will leave the copy and pasting of ordinary text alone so that you think everything is okay, but when you copy a wallet address, it will change your clipboard contents to a different address, aka the scammer's address. So you'll end up sending money straight to them. Luckily, your defense is simple. To defend against clipboard hijacking, always verify your transaction details before confirming. Check the address you are sending to and make sure that it also matches the address you were intending to send to. Another defense is to always do a test transaction. And trust me, doing a test transaction will save you from far more than just clipboard hijacking. User error is the biggest reason people lose money in crypto, and test transactions are the most beautifully simple way to avoid that. I always send $1 worth of money as a test to make sure my money ends up going where I expect it to, and so I can confirm it was received before sending a larger amount. Now, let's talk about malware in general. The truth is that malware will probably evolve faster than most of us can keep up. I've gone ahead and listed this as its own attack because we have no idea what we may face next. So what can you do about avoiding malware in general? Most people know to use common sense and that you shouldn't go to sketchy internet sites, click on suspicious links, or download pirated software. But it's difficult to be vigilant 100% of the time. So a good defense is to use common sense and just be safe with your internet usage. A better defense is to use a hardware wallet, as it should protect you from all malware, but the best defense against malware is to use a hardware wallet and to separate your crypto use from your work and personal computing by using a dedicated device for crypto use only. No software downloads, no sketchy internet browsing, no email, nothing besides your crypto and DeFi use. You may be laughing and rolling your eyes at this point, because to avoid all risks just means we have to become hermits, right? To use crypto and DeFi, especially when using a self-custodial wallet like MetaMask, there are risks we have to be willing to accept. However, this next attack, infinite token approvals, is a risk you do not have to accept. You may not even know you're accepting it though, because the default action is also the riskiest action. Let's talk about it. This brings us to section number 3, smart contract vulnerabilities. Every time you interact with a smart contract, you have to approve the use of your tokens. For example, if you want to lend 5 tokens to a smart contract, you need to let that contract take those tokens from your account. The reason is because smart contracts don't know and can't know if you've sent them money. Instead, you approve the contract to take those 5 tokens from you. It's weird, but it's just the way smart contracts work. If you want to lend 5 tokens, you'll approve 5 tokens. Then, as long as you actually end up using those 5 tokens in the next step by lending, staking, trading, doing the thing you came to do, then your token approval will be reduced by 5 and your approval will now be at 0 again. This is where we as DeFi users have made a problem for ourselves. We get whiny and complain and say, I don't want to spend gas to approve my tokens every single time. That costs a lot of gas fees. So DeFi protocols listened and implemented infinite token approvals as the default action. By approving an infinite number of tokens, you no longer have to spend gas to approve your tokens every time you go to use that protocol. Thumbs up. However, this is a huge risk. Your tokens will forever remain exposed to a hack on that contract in the future. The difference between a limited approval, one where you approve and immediately use, and an infinite approval is like the difference between saying, I trust you right now versus I trust you forever. As an example, let's say you do the default approval action, which is the infinite one, before lending some USDC. This is safe because currently the smart contract hasn't been hacked, and any action requiring your tokens can only be initiated by you. However, if in a month or if in 5 years that contract is hacked, then the contract or contract administrator could steal all your USDC. And here's the real kicker. The transaction to take your USDC doesn't need to be approved by you because you already approved it. So even if you use a hardware wallet where you normally would have had to physically press buttons to do that transaction, in this case, you are not protected and the transaction can occur without any physical interaction with the device. The scope of this hack is limited though. The bad smart contract with which you approved your unlimited tokens can't steal your whole wallet, only the tokens that you've done the infinite approval for. So what is your defense? Don't do infinite token approvals. Instead, approve only what you need at the moment. Approve 5, use 5, and your approval will be reset to 0. If you approve 10, then only end up using 5, you'll still have a remaining balance of 5 on your approval. So perhaps you could save gas by approving what you think you'll need for the next week. This still reduces your risk exposure while also saving on gas fees. To change the default unlimited approval, click View Full Transaction Details, then click Edit. Notice how the current proposed approval limit has an E plus 59 in it. That means 1.15 times 10 raised to the 59th power, basically infinite. To change this, click Custom Spend Limit, enter in the number of tokens you want to approve, and click Save. I trust the smart contracts I use, but I wouldn't go as far as to say I trust them forever by giving them unlimited approval. But what if you've already exposed your assets by giving infinite token approvals because you didn't know about this yet? You can use a tool called dbank to see your approvals and decline them. What's happening behind the scenes is you're just doing another approval with that contract, but with a value of 0 rather than infinite. If you don't trust dbank, many modern blockchain explorers like Polygon Scan, BSC Scan, and Etherscan also have an approval section where you can do the same action as you would on dbank. The next attack is attack number 8, smart contract hacks. Smart contracts are beautiful and they are what make DeFi DeFi. They open up amazing possibilities but put a lot of pressure on the security of that code. A bad contract can steal all the funds that you currently have staked inside that contract. When I say bad, I mean one of two things. A bad smart contract could either be a malicious smart contract written with the intent to steal, or a good smart contract that has a bug in it. So, how can you defend against the risks of using smart contracts? The easiest option is insurance. In the future, I believe this will be the best option, but currently it just isn't widely available. The DeFi insurance market is so new, I've seen relatively few options, and the options I have seen don't cover the protocols I'm using. But it's something to look into as DeFi continues to grow. The hard answer is that we have to decide the risks for ourselves, which is pretty impossible because even if you knew how to code smart contracts, you could still miss a bug or security flaw. And how do normal people who don't know how to code decide the risk? The answer to this is pretty subjective. This is my personal opinion. For large percentages of my portfolio, I stick to battle-tested, well-known protocols that have been audited many times and have a long track record. But if you're new, how in the world do you even know who that is? This is a shortcut and will offer you a place to begin your research. To find who the established decentralized exchanges are in each network, I use a tool called Dex Screener. Dex Screener also happens to be where I do all my price charting for tokens only available on DeFi. But what if you want to use a newer protocol? How do you decide if they're safe or not? Once again, subjective, but I like to see projects that have been audited and have resolved all major issues identified in the audit. That means you have to actually read the audit. If you don't know anything about audits, this is where I would start. After you open it up, scroll down for a little bit, and there's usually a page that shows a table of issues found. It will also rate the severity of the issues and their status. If there are risks labeled as major or medium and they have been acknowledged but not resolved, I wouldn't use that protocol. This means the auditors found issues that pose significant risks, but the team decided not to change the code. Often, minor issues will be acknowledged and not resolved, and I'm generally okay with this as long as I read why the team decided not to change the code. Often, the minor issues are more about usability and less about security. The example I'm using here is actually kind of interesting because I believe this protocol paid for this audit to look legitimate and just hoped investors wouldn't read it. Scammy protocols might advertise the fact that they have an audit, even if their code contains serious security flaws. Another tool I use for security research is RugDoc. RugDoc is great and terrible all at the same time. Great because they're good at identifying high-risk smart contracts, but terrible because once you start browsing through the protocols, you'll be exposed to a lot of extremely new and untested protocols that might quickly die out within weeks. RugDoc is not an auditing service, but they are great at giving you a first initial reaction to the security of the code. If you want to learn more about security contract exploits, rect.news is an amazing resource for learning about large-scale exploits that have happened in the past. Now, let's talk about a non-attack, a security misconception that does absolutely nothing to protect you. I've seen many YouTubers recommending that you disconnect your MetaMask from a dApp after using it. The only thing that connecting your MetaMask wallet does is it exposes your public wallet address. Let me say that again. It exposes your public address. Since your wallet is already public, connecting is not a security threat, and disconnecting does not add any additional security. In fact, if you've already used the dApp, then your address is already listed under their transactions with the smart contract in the Blockchain Explorer. Disconnecting your MetaMask is just removing your address from an arbitrary list when they already have it on the blockchain. The only thing someone with your public wallet address can do is send you stuff. Sometimes you could get a legitimate airdrop worth real money, but airdrops are becoming less popular, so 99% of the time, that just means they will send you worthless scam tokens as another phishing attempt. That brings us to attack number 9, scam tokens. They'll use your excitement or curiosity over the fact that you think you got free money to encourage you to go to their website. Their website will probably be an attempt to get you to interact with their scammy smart contracts, attack number 8, or a way to fish your secret recovery phrase out of you, attack number 1. Your defense is to not touch the tokens. They can't hurt you if you leave them alone. That wraps it up. If I've missed anything, please let us know in the comments to protect our DeFi community. I put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and I hope you'll take a risk on me by subscribing to this channel. My promise to you is that I'll never waste your time.